Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Espino, and today I have a special guest. He is the CEO of TrioSEO, a blog writing agency that helps online business drive high internet organic traffic through bottom of the funnel content. Before TrioSEO, you co-own a portfolio of 40 blogs, manage 400 articles monthly, and scale it to 7 figures in annual revenue with his 2 partners. Today, TrioSEO creates high intent content that aims to convert browsers into buyers. Their team manages everything from strategy and outlines to writing and publishing, even offering tips and tricks to enhance user experience, UX, and convention. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Steven. How are you, Steven?
Hey, Caesar. Nice to meet you. Excited to be here. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
man. Awesome, man. Well, definitely that's exciting to know, and I'm always interested in knowing how people can scale their business and beyond that, what drives them to do that. Yet before we dive into that, though, tell me a bit more about you. Where are you originally from, and how was your upbringing?
Yeah, I'm from Washington State, so I'm on the west coast of the US, born and raised here my entire life. I went to college up north, about 15 minutes from the Canadian border to Western Washington University. And while I was up there studying finance, didn't really have a plan except for get the degree and sell my soul to corporate and do what's next in life. And thankfully, that wasn't the case. A good friend of mine in college introduced me to SEO. And at that time, he was building affiliate sites through the Amazon affiliate kind of Wild West era. And he was already making upwards of like 10, 15 grand a month doing this in college. And I was just shell shocked. I couldn't believe it. And just couldn't even fathom that someone was making that much money, let alone doing it in college. And so I quickly abandoned all ideas around getting my finance degree. I mean, I still got it, but it wasn't going to be a corporate, slave for the rest of my life.
Right.
And long story short, I learned SEO under him. We went into business with his partner. And we kind of just fast tracked it to 40 sites, bunch of content, 7 figures. And that was many moons ago. So now I get to take all those learnings and help clients at Trio SEO. It's been fun.
Yeah. Let me ask you, there's 2 things with that. One of the things that we are faced with, I believe nowadays, and not that I'm knocking anything, you know, by any means, yet I think it was important to mention what you said. You obviously could have taken the route of getting your education and being a slave to corporate America. It's essentially that's what it is, right? It's a life sentence. Um, what what is your advice when it comes down to people that say, hey, I got to pursue an education, kind of go through that journey of going through that, versus maybe if you have an idea or you have something that you can probably do and kind of learn the untraditional way, not going to traditional school, and diving into that and risking it all in that end. Like, what is your advice in terms of that?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I'm definitely on both sides of the fence. I have my degree. My wife's, has her doctorate, family's in academia. So I mean, I'm definitely for college. I'm not against it. I disagree with the price of colleges, at least in the US.
Mhm.
I feel like it's robbery.
Yeah.
It has pros and cons, but I think that, nowadays we are seeing a shift where this kind of next generation below me is able to be entrepreneurs without going to college. I think the college is great for networking. I think it's great to meet people. For example, I wouldn't have met my friend and kicked it off and, kind of had that same journey. But play devil's advocate, I'm not in finance. I didn't study those classes to get that degree and use that. So it is really how you use it. But I don't think that I think college is a conduit, I would say, at the end of the day. So I think it really depends on the avenues you're exploring and who you're choosing to hang out with and meet, and also the ability to act on certain relationships and endeavors. Um, yeah, I think it's very situational. It's hard to say. I think it really depends on how ambitious you are too, because entrepreneurship is hard. And if you don't have that drive to succeed, um, maybe it's better to kind of go that path of college and,
Right.
you know, do your 9 to 5 and kind of have that structure. It definitely depends on the personality.
Yeah, definitely. I guess the only big downside to that is statistically, many people that do go to college and do get a degree, they end up not working in their field of study, right? And that's probably
Yeah.
the biggest thing of all. Um, Now, how long did it take you to scale your business with your two partners? Like how long was that journey? Because you always hear this overnight success, right? And the idea of, oh man, you got lucky kind of thing, right? Tell me more
Yeah.
about
Yeah. We did it overnight. It's easy. We just
that.
nothing.
Yeah.
No. I got lucky. I mean, I fully lean into my biases. They had it all mapped out and I rode the coattails, but we worked hard and I won't neglect that. One of my partners, the mentor who I had going into it, he had been building websites since like early 2010. It was 2017 at this point. So he had almost a decade of experience going into this. They had two websites at that time that were already making like 15, 20K each upon those websites. So, I mean, we kind of use those as the cash cows to kind of help support the business and cash flow it, obviously, keep it healthy. To get post graduation to 7 figures and 40 websites, it took us about 3 years. And we obsessed over it. We did nothing but eat, sleep, and breathe. We had a team of 30. It was a full round the clock thing. I mean, I was waking up at 3 a.m. to work before class, and then I'd go to class and I'd work all through class on my websites, and then I'd come home and I'd work until my wife told me not to work at like 6 or 7 o'clock. So I mean, it was everything I could do and to not get a real job, quote
Yeah.
unquote, after graduation.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
what we had to do.
Yeah. Did you ever imagine? Obviously you graduated, you had your degree. Like I guess besides what was, I guess, the leading factor? Obviously, you met these two partners. I said, what was that drive for, or the moment of deciding, what, I can either go and try to get a 9 to 5 in my field of study, right? And I graduated, or I'm gonna take this leap of faith. I mean, you obviously, there was a deciding factor. What was the deciding factor for you that drove you to take the decision?
It was instantaneous. As soon as he showed me his Amazon account, like his actual, like, because I mean, he's a good friend of mine, still is today. Like I see him every week and we
Yeah.
golf, and he's married to my childhood best friend. And so we threw circles, but I just never knew that he had this kind of secret business on the side and he was successful. So I kind of like one, I was able to kind of see that it was within reach. It's not like you see a YouTube guru and he's on the, you know, $1 million lifestyle and you're like, that's so out of reach, I'm never going to be able to achieve that. It was like, no, this is a guy that I know. He went to a high school 5 minutes away from me. Like, it's not like he's a, shining star or rocket science.
Right.
uh and then the other side of it was that there was a legit process that wasn't complex. It's not like I had to do calculus every single day. It was like write articles, upload to website, wait for traffic. It was a very easy, just had to be patient. And so as soon as I saw how much money he was making, I was like, yeah, there's no way that I'm gonna continue on like getting my 3% raise per year and playing the corporate ladder. Like, he's making more than these guys in college, let alone having
Yeah.
to do it on the side. So yeah, I just immediately bought in and became a sponge. You just anything I could learn as quickly as possible, and I scrapped. It was kind of a do or die mentality. Like, I just didn't give myself a second option. I was like, okay, I'll graduate and get the degree, but like, it's
Yeah.
not gonna matter.
Yeah. That's interesting how the human mind works, and when you actually apply yourself to certain things. And in your case, when you think of that right there, the fact that it was instantaneous and you just looked at that, is that saying that a mentor of mine mentioned and said, reality is created by validation, right? And so
Yeah.
once you found that validation through somebody that you actually know, then your reality became instantaneous, and you're like, you know what? As you said, I'm gonna become a sponge, and I'm gonna go ahead and
Hmm.
move forward with that, right? And so I think that that's huge when we look at that from that perspective. In terms of the blogs and the things that you were writing, what kind of blogs were you doing? Like, what was the content?
Yeah, so I mean, content ranged. I always like to joke I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. I can pretty much talk about any niche that you have in mind. I have some keyword research that I've
Yeah.
done, but we would buy, own, or build micro niche sites. So, like for example, we would own like a barbecue or meat smoker website, and it would be every article you can imagine around um, smoking meat, cooking meat, prepping meat, blah 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 blah. And then we would write these roundup articles. It'd be like the top 10 best smokers under $200, and we would link those to Amazon, and then wait for the organic traffic to come. The beauty of it is that or organically, as you get more traffic, you send in more traffic to Amazon. But with Amazon's cookie, regardless of whether you make a sale on that product that you were promoting, anything that the user buys within 24 hours. So it could be toilet paper, it could be a sweatshirt, you get a commission on anything in 24 hours. So
Hmm.
you can imagine that it's a numbers game, it's a volume game, and it's extremely lucrative, or at least it was back in the day. To where if you had gobs of traffic, you could do the math.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So then you build a website, you create blogs, and then redirect that to Amazon, and obviously get paid on that. Did you exit? Would you at one point exit out of that website and sell the website with those blogs, or to awesome? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So so the kind of the name of the game back in the day was the cash flow of the website, which could be anywhere from like 1,000 to, like, at our peak, we had like a $50,000 per month website.
Hmm.
So I mean, that's like a unicorn. I mean, average
Right.
is like 5K if you're doing pretty good.
Hmm.
And then like real estate, or any other business, you can sell it for a lump sum, which would be anywhere from 30 to 45K, the MRR of that. So, if your average is 5K per month, you could sell it for 150, 200 grand. And then kind of like play this flipping process on top of that. So yeah, it got to the point where we were sending like mass cold emails across, just like kind of like those postcards where it's like, ever considered
Yep.
selling your house.
Yep.
We would do that for websites that were kind of like stagnant, or people who just had like a blog from the 90s and hadn't touched it and didn't know about it. And we would send them an email and be like, hey, do you want to sell your website for 2 grand? And they're like, sure. Like, I haven't touched this thing in 10 years. And to us, that was like a gold mine, because we already knew how to build it, how to scale it, how to flip it, and it would just be this like kickoff point for us. So it was pretty fun.
Wow. Nice. So talk about Trio SEO. What are you guys doing now? Like, is it the same concept, or how does that? What do you guys do now?
Yeah, so it was a pretty kind of serendipitous fit. I'll kind of talk about like the where we started and kind of where we're going. But
Mhm.
yeah, so I met my two partners, Connor Gillivan and Nathan Hirsch, just randomly through LinkedIn networking. And this is after I left my first company. I was looking for something new, to know what I wanted to do, and just started like posting content on LinkedIn. It just kind of felt like the right move. And through networking, kind of hit it off with those guys. And yeah, I realized that there was an opportunity there, and we decided to explore the idea of creating an SEO agency. They're pretty deep in the SEO game too, so it made a good fit. Um, but yeah, the model was exactly the same from back in the day, and it's kind of like why we were able to kind of kickstart our success at Trio with such a good system for our clients, was because I'd already helped to build it previously with my other partners. And so yeah, similar to what we do now, it's writing high quality content for traffic that is intended to lead to conversions, not just like meaningless organic top of funnel traffic. And then you just create blogs and other landing pages and whatnot, and just drive a ton of like high relevant traffic. So same exact process, but instead of linking to Amazon, now we're linking to people's lead magnets and their CTAs and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah. And is it an I'm assuming any industry, whether it's coaching, real estate, really anything, or there a specific interest niche that you're focused on?
yeah, we try to steer away from local SEO. That's a whole different can of worms.
Okay.
But we do offer a lot of support in service areas, B2B, SaaS software. Yeah, it more depends on the niche, and making sure that there's an opportunity and a good fit between A, the content that's available, and B, if that content is within reach for the client, because every website has like a different authority or domain rating, and that is kind of like your basis for how competitive the space is and if you have a chance to compete. So
Got it.
we take a look at all that stuff and kind of say like if it's a good fit or not. And we're pretty upfront with clients, making sure that's like, hey, like it's just not going to be a good fit because like you need to go work on links for the next 6 months before you even think about content. So
Right. Yeah. So somebody that comes to you, they already have to have a lead magnet or funnel already built and created, uh, or do you guys help them with that stuff too?
yeah, not a must. Definitely helps a lot just because, we can kind of hit the ground running and inject that into our content. But that's definitely part of our process. Like we can come and say like, hey, we think there's a good opportunity to go after this keyword, usually like a PDF or a checklist sort of thing. And then try to create content that is generated around that kind of intent. So, but yeah, it varies client to client.
Based on got you. And in terms of that, like let's say I want to work with you, or somebody that's listening to this podcast right now, they want to work with you guys, right? How like what is their requirements, or even do you do it on a monthly basis, or quarterly basis, yearly basis? How does that work? Like if I wanted to work with you, for me to get a better understanding and be able to walk away and say, okay, I'll get back to you with an answer. How does that conversation go?
Yeah, so we always start with a discovery audit, and that's kind of like us vetting and doing our due diligence to make sure it's a good fit. And that's pretty routine. We run through kind of like an oil change of stuff, making sure that like content opportunities, what's some low hanging fruit for your side, just general stuff. If everything looks good from there, what we do is we try to only work with people who have like a long-term mindset, so at least 6 to 12 months. We don't lock people into contracts. It's just more or less mentally like, yes, I know SEO is a long-term play, and yes, I'm invested in this long term. And then in order to kind of like ease that mental barrier, we work in 90-day sprints and we work together on strategy, making sure that our content roadmap is really dialed in over a 3 month period. And then we meet every quarter to go over strategy, go over quarterly analytics. And aside from that, it's pretty hands off, at least from their part. We send out weekly emails talking about growth and content production and all that sort of stuff. But it's just more or less like an out of sight, out of mind thing for their end so that they can focus on the business and we can kind of focus on their SEO.
Got it. What is the average I guess return on investment, right? Or for me to get some qualifying leads that I can probably convert to a customer.
Yeah, I wish I could answer that clearly, but it's one of those things where every answer varies because it really depends on how well the client can leverage our traffic. So we're not a conversion rate optimization agency. We're not a email marketing agency. We're not a insert the blank here. We're really, really good at bringing leads through traffic. And what that means is that like we can bring you all the best traffic in the world, but if your team is not going to leverage that traffic, then
Right.
it really depends on that. But I mean, for example, like we have a couple of case studies coming out that, we've generated upwards of like 50 leads per month. And when I mean leads, it could be each client has a different lead metric. So it could be newsletter signups as a lead. It could be lead magnet downloads are a lead. So those clients who are most successful from our work are the people who can take the traffic and put it into like a nurture sequence and then work with that traffic for 6 to 8 weeks from there. And then you'll just see kind of a scaling effect of people who convert from organic traffic into paying customers.
Got it. Got it. Oh, that's awesome. So what's next for you guys? Like what is the next 6 to 12 months for you guys?
We're just going to get really good at kind of rinse and repeat the same process. I mean, we have it really dialed in. We're really good at staying on focus and not, biting off more than we can chew or shiny object syndrome and trying to tack on extra revenue streams, all that sort of stuff. So we firmly believe that systems are the way to scale. And if you can do that and get it right, then everything else kind of takes care of itself. So yeah, we just went through another growth phase. We sold out September, October. We added like I want to say upwards of like almost 10 new clients.
Hmm.
So now we're kind of in this process of refining, letting the dust settle, kind of finding our footing. And then Q1 is kind of where we're going to plan to scale again. So it'll be a good kind of way to kind of incrementally go up and just make sure that clients are prioritized and make sure that we're not putting ourselves first because I think that it's easy to scale and forget the clients and
Right.
processes crumble. And we don't want that to happen. So
Yeah, definitely. And I'm assuming that True SEO is all over the world, or just specifically in the US, or
Yeah, so just me and my partners and I are in the US. So I live in Seattle and they're in Denver. And then, yeah, we have team all over the world. We have about almost 10 full-time employees and about 15 writers, I think right now. Everything's 100% human written and edited, no AI. So it's been fun to kind of grow the team over the last year.
yeah. That's interesting. Talking about AI and where we're going with all of the technology, do you see that being part of your business? To help with those blogs and or creating content.
It is as a tool. It's not a replacement. We use AI in our tech stack. There's no denying how helpful that is. But when it comes to AI, it really shouldn't be a replacement for content. I mean, it's so clear when people use AI, whether it's social media or blogs, it's like no one talks in the digital age of
Yeah,
marketing revolution. It's like, come on, like
yeah,
it's written by a bot.
right.
Um, and we don't want to jeopardize our clients' SEO at the end of the day, especially with how long SEO takes to work.
Yeah,
Cutting corners to save a couple of weeks isn't worth it when you look over a 2 to 3, 5 year plus timeline.
right. No, definitely. So, if people, somebody wants to connect with you, learn more about what you guys do, or maybe see if they can actually utilize you, how do they get in contact?
Yeah, you can just Google Trio SEO, Trio SEO, or Trio SEO Steven. I always joke that we're an SEO agency, so if we don't show up, we're doing something wrong. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn though too. I post
Yeah.
daily, and so do our partners. So um, find same way. You can just Google us or find us on LinkedIn. Always reach out. I'm always happy to talk SEO or help you out.
No, I love that. So there's one thing that you mentioned here that I really enjoy, and I want you to elaborate a little bit more. As people are trying to level up and or do something in their life, and hence why I created this podcast. It's always good to understand, how you got into the place that you're in, right? And so I love what you mentioned. You said conflict leads to change. Push through those downtimes and think long term. So tell me more about that. What the deep meaning of that.
Yeah, conflict leads to change is something that my partner Connor kind of sprinkled onto my my thought process when we started working together because anybody who's an entrepreneur or just living through life, I mean, there's ups and downs, but how you deal with that is what changes the next step of that process. And I think that it's easy, especially in entrepreneurship, to say, oh, this isn't working, I'm going to give up, or this didn't go as planned, so I might as well just pivot and restart. When really, anybody who gets into business, and same thing with SEO, isn't thinking in days and weeks. Like you should hopefully be thinking in months and years. And if you do zoom out over kind of a long enough timeline and be like, am I still on track to meet my goal in the next year or the next 5 years? The answer is probably still yes. One bad day does not, derail you. It's kind of like dieting or exercise. Like have the cupcake. It's not going to make you gain 20 pounds overnight. Like get
Right.
back on track. So kind of the same thing. It's just making sure that you're being realistic and not kind of like, getting shook every time that you get off course. It's just like, yeah, stuff happens. Just fix it, move on, learn from it, and that's what happens.
Yeah, and I think that's the big one too, though, that you actually learn from that, and not stay down, right?
Yeah.
And just realize that, because then at the end of the day, then you are gonna lose that. Let me ask you this: do you have any daily habits, anything that you do on a day to day basis to kind of keep you up and running, either in your business or personal life?
Yeah, so I split my day up where I work the first 4 hours of the day. Are just super hyper focused. A lot of my meetings are in the morning too, just based on time zones. And then I split up my day and take a 2 hour block where I take lunch and I go to the gym and I kind of like cool off. And then I come back and I work the last 4 hours. And that's usually like project stuff or anything that's more like me time where I have to like get something done for a client. But yeah, having that break in between, I used to work nonstop back in college when during the first company it was like 15, 16-hour days just straight through. Uh and it's just you burn out. So I've learned to adjust and yeah, you gotta feed the brain some healthy activities every now and then to keep it
Yeah.
sustainable.
No, I like that. I think that's crucial to be able to have kind of like whether it's a daily routine or more so a discipline and structured day, right? I mean, I think it's more than just a daily routine, because you can have a lazy daily routine, right? It's more of being structured properly and being able to have a disciplined day that is gonna give you the most out of that day, right? As they say, we all have the same amount of time, is how we use it, and so
Yep.
that's huge. My last question for you is, for the people that are watching us and or listening to us, if they're going through any challenge, whatever challenge that might be, what is one or a few things you can say to them to start overcoming that challenge?
The first thing that comes to mind is to write it down. I think that that's always helped me. I think that when we toss around ideas and thoughts in our head, it's very easy to blow them out of proportion or to let one overtake the other or to get really hung up on one that maybe isn't really moving the needle for the process. I always like to like break things down, write to-do lists and kind of visualize the sequence of events. And that just helps me kind of like one, get out of my head so that it's not just like something I'm chewing on all day. And two, kind of like reallocate importance of it and make sure that I'm actually doing the best thing possible first in order to like make a big dent in that process.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that aside from that, it should just be realistic with like the timeline of it. So going back to like the other thing I was saying, if this you have this massive challenge you're trying to overtake, is it a daily thing? Is it a weekly thing? Or like should it actually be taken in 30 to 60 days? It's like once you kind of give yourself that appropriate time to think in that set of intervals, I think it kind of changes your expectations of how you go about it. So it's always
Yeah,
helpful for me.
I love that. I love that. Man, Steven, I really appreciate the time and everything you have to share here. Anything else you want to say before I let you go?
No, I don't think so. I mean, this has been really fun. If anybody has any questions about entrepreneurship or life or SEO, I'm always down to talk. I love networking. Don't be hesitant to reach out. And yeah, I hope everyone listening has a good day.
Awesome. Well, I definitely enjoy that and enjoy this conversation. So thank you for that. And for the rest of you guys, do me a favor. Please make sure that you guys share this message, because definitely somebody needs to hear it. And I will definitely see you guys at the next show of this podcast. Again, thank you, Steven, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Caesar.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.